So welcome, parents. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for our presentation. We know that your time is very valuable and we really appreciate that you are here this evening. So I want to start off, just introduce our Richmond High counseling team. I am Miss Huang. With us tonight, you'll also be hearing from Mr. Perkins, Miss Rodriguez, and Miss Salmon. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So next slide, please. Okay, so this is tonight's agenda. These are the top things we're going to be discussing over the course of this evening. The first is understanding the California Dashboard Report. So we're going to talk in general to give you an introduction to what that is, what it looks like. And then we're going to talk specifically about Richmond High's key performance indicators. And that will flow nicely into areas that we've decided or determined here at the school that are of need and that possibly might need attention, as well as some strategies for improving the school's indicators. And we have left time at the end of our presentation for a question and answer session. So please, as we're going through the presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we will get to them at the end. So next slide, please. All right, so what is the California Dashboard Report? The California Dashboard is an online tool that shows how schools are performing on several state and local indicators. So everyone who's got a computer can access it. And just as grades in different subjects or classes help you understand how your child's doing in school, the performance information on the California Dashboard Report gives you a better idea of how well our school is doing. And the results also help us to identify areas of need at the school or specific groups of students who might benefit from more support. So there are two types of indicators that are provided on the report. We have statewide indicators and local indicators. There are 6 statewide indicators, and we're going to be discussing those in detail throughout the evening. So I'm just going to introduce them to you here. The first is the Smarter Balanced, or SBAC, test results in both English language arts, which is ELA, and math. And we have English learner progress, chronic absenteeism, the graduation rate, our suspension rate, and college and career readiness. We also have local indicators, and those can include clean and safe buildings, school climate, parent engagement, and access to a broad course of study. Now, these local indicators is information that's not available for individual schools or for student groups. And again, we're going to be focusing on the statewide indicators tonight. So next slide, please. So how are the dashboard results presented? For each of the 6 statewide indicators that I just shared on the last slide, schools receive one of 5 color-coded performance levels. And you can kind of think of that as an equivalent to grades you might see on a report card. So from lowest to highest, the 5 performance levels are red, orange, yellow, green, and blue, just like you see here on the screen with the little arrow pointing to the appropriate level. And performance levels are provided for all students, kind of an overall performance level. And then there are also indicators that break it down by student subgroups. And those subgroups include English learners, socioeconomically disadvantaged students, foster youth, homeless youth, students with disabilities, and then a variety of racial and ethnic groups. So a lot of different information is provided. And you may be thinking to yourself at this point, that's a lot of information, a lot of detail, and that's great. But what does that really mean for me, and why should we be worried about that? And the bottom line is that the information that's provided through the California Dashboard allows parents and guardians, as well as educators here at the school, to quickly see how well schools are meeting the needs of the students that they serve. So next slide, please. We are going to now look closely, now that you've got some background idea about how the dashboard works, we're going to look specifically at our school here at the Richmond High Performance Indicators for 2019. So remember those 6 statewide indicators I mentioned. These are the 6 indicators for the 2019 year. So the first is suspension rate, which you can see we are in the orange. For our English learner progress indicator, we had no performance color for the 2019 year, which simply means we didn't have a rating. For graduation rate, we're in the green. For college and career readiness, also in the green. For English language arts, you can see we were in the yellow, and for mathematics, we're in the orange. So just quickly looking here, we're able to see that our two highest indicator performances were in the graduation rate and our college and career readiness. And on the flip side, our lowest performance indicators were the suspension rate, which is in the orange, and the mathematics, which is in the orange. We had one in the yellow, but thankfully we had none in the red. So just to give you an idea of how quickly you can graphically see the information that I was talking about. So go ahead with the next slide, please.
Hi, everyone. This is Mrs. Rodriguez. So in this next two slides, we're going to be talking about the overtime change of suspension rates and mathematics. For the first slide, we have the suspension rates. So as you can see, we have a graph here that shows the years that we have been looking at. We looked at 2017, 2018, and 2019. For 2017, the rate was 13.3%. For 2018, it was 8.3%, which it decreased a little bit. And then in 2019, it went up by 0.3%. We have a 8.6%. Next slide, please. Okay, on this slide, we're going to talk about the data overview of mathematics. And we have a graph here too. So this graph looks a little different because it's by points. So this graph shows, if you guys can see the middle part, it says standard. So that's where we're supposed to be meeting. That's if we get to those points, we're meeting standard. So with this, we looked at 2017, 2018, and 2019 also. And as we can see in the chart, in 2017, we did not meet standards. We were at 140.1 points. In 2018, 126.5. In 2019, 115.5. So throughout the years, Richmond students have gotten closer to meeting the standard, but we're not there just yet. The next slide, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mr. Perkins, and I'll be covering a slide that covers our two areas of need, which is suspension rate and mathematics. So if you look at it, we are at 8.6% suspended at least once. And this increased 0.3% from the previous year. And then we go over to mathematics, and we had this also in the orange, and this 115.2 points below standard, which increased 11.3 points from the previous year. And then so we'll now for the next slide, we're going to start breaking this down to more subgroups for each area. Next slide, please. Thank you. So suspension rate subgroups. So we'll start with English learners is in the red. We're at 11.2% suspended at least once. This increased 0.7% from the previous year. Total students, 697. And then the next subgroup is students with disabilities. This is also in the red, 17.5% suspended at least once. This increased 2% from the previous year. Then we go over to the other subgroup, which is African American, which is in the orange. 20.3% suspended at least once. And this declined from the previous year, 2.3%. Number of students counted in for this subgroup was 128. For Asian is in the orange, 2.6 was suspended at least once, and this increased 1.2%. Number of students counted for this area is 76. So we can have the next slide, please. So now there's a continuation of the suspension rate subgroups. And we're going to the Hispanic group. They're in the orange. 8.1% suspended at least once. This increased from the previous year, 0.5%. Member population, 1,440. Then move over to the homeless, which is in the orange. 17.4% suspended at least once. And this declined 3.5% from the previous year. Number of students counted, 86. And then the last subgroup in this for suspension rate is socially, economically disadvantaged. It's in the orange, 8.6% suspended at least once, and this maintained from the previous year. I mean, it has went up or down. Number of students counted was 1,578. Could go to the next slide, please. So as stated earlier, this is the other area of concern, which is in the orange. These are subgroups. That's for mathematics. So for English learners, which is in the orange, we are 167.5 points below standard. So this was we did good. Since the previous year we were 10.7 10.7. It increased 10.7 points. Number of students counted 157. As far as for Hispanics, they're also in the orange. 115.5 points below standard. It increased 14.1 points. Number of students counted for that was 274. Last one for mathematics is socially, economically disadvantaged, also in orange, 116.8 points below standard, but this increased 12.5 points. So the interventions that are being applied are working. Next slide, please.
So hi, everyone. My name is Mrs. Salmon, and I'm going to talk about some of the strategies we have for improving those scores, and particularly mathematics scores. So in talking about how we can support our students, we came up with a mathematics support course. And so students that are falling below the mark in the math testing, Richmond High will offer a math support course. This support course will replace an elective and will focus on building math skills. The course will have group work, teacher's aid available to assist with homework or study for practice exams. And there are also extra practice exams available for the students, as well as homework help and extra class time. So there's some strategies too for reducing the suspension rate. There's been a lot of research on positive behavioral intervention and supports, also abbreviated for PBIS. It's an evidence-based 3-tier framework to improve and integrate all of the data, systems, and practices affecting students' outcomes every day. PBIS creates schools where all students succeed. And particularly, there's a person-centered planning, and this is a way for diverse people who share a common need to align. And so it focuses on the vision, purpose, and goals, the understanding of students' past, present, and future's life, and the actions for change and mutual support. There's also several person-centered planning processes that have been developed, including planning alternative tomorrows, with hope, making action plans, essential lifestyle planning, personal life future plans, circle of support, and a combination of all above approaches in a hybrid model. So some of the ways staff and faculty will approach this is by using the 5-point intervention approach. This is a combination of the school principal, as well as the counselors and the school psychologist, as well as staff. The 5-point intervention approach helps guide the process for a better climate. And this really needs all hands on deck to be able to complete this. Well, we first have to collect and use a report, the report that we obtain from collecting data. We need to implement a behavior framework that is preventative and multi-tiered and culturally responsive. For 3, we need to use engaging academic instruction to reduce the achievement gap and develop policies with accountability for discipline, equity. And we also need to teach strategies to neutralize implicit biases. Some of the benefits that we found in using PBIS and implementing it in schools was very significant. It actually reduced behavioral problems, it increased pro-social behavior, improved emotional regulation, improved perceptions of the school safety, and it actually improved organizational health. So there's been a lot of good things that so far have been implemented in various schools, and the data was collected, and that this data was actually obtained from pbis.org. So there's data to support this evidence. So that concludes our presentation for today. I hope that you guys took something away from this. And actually, if you have any questions, we're going to stick around for a little bit. We have our contact information on our passouts. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We will be here for about 15 or so minutes. But please ask away. I hope you enjoyed our presentation, and thank you so much for coming.